Welcome to week 8 guest lines and 10 questions. The Duncan dad is on, I like to say he's on vacation. He's on a cruise and he's overseas in Spain right now. So it's going to be myself and Jake Riepma taking you through week 8 and answering the 10 questions and everything. Jake, how you doing? You're also on location too also. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm in Country Roads, West Virginia, Morgantown. Country Road. No, I won't sing the song for everybody, but shout out to Duncan Dad. If I could be somewhere in Spain overseas right now, I probably would be doing that. No disrespect to you, Trevor, but
That's fine.
That's a much better offer. But hey, a lot of action over the weekend and lots to discuss. And it'll be me and you fired up to be on the Upper Bowl podcast from Morgantown, West Virginia.
Hey, we are I like to say, whatever that thing was on ABC Worldwide Sports, we're spanning the globe. How about that? We are spanning the globe. So that's what's going on. All right. A lot of questions, 10 questions. Then we got the guest lines. All right. Number 10. What were your thoughts on the Broncos 33-point comeback win versus the New York Giants?
It's very rare when I watch a sporting event that I find some empathy and actually feel bad for athletes out there, especially in my beautiful fiance always gets mad at me because they're people too and everything. I'm like, well, they make a lot of money to play a kid's game, but I legitimately felt bad for Jackson Dart, Cam Scadaboo, the entire Giants team to mount that drive to score the go-ahead touchdown and then have enough time on the clock for the Broncos to come back. But in the same sense, that same conversation, kudos to the Broncos, man. I mean, what was it? 33 second half points. That's a record. Of course, It goes into overtime. If the kicker can make an extra point, you've got one job. My goodness. But at the same time, hats off to the Bo Nix experience and the Broncos 33 fourth quarter points was pretty impressive.
I got to say that was a pretty fun game to watch. I was watching. I had the iPad out doing Dolphins post game. Wanted to keeping an eye on one game anyway, so that was the game I kept an eye on. They're honoring the 10th anniversary of the Super Bowl 50 winning team, anyways, and they honored Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, I saw that.
There was I dove into Denver Bronco Twitter, which I never do, by the way. And it was like Demaryius Thomas was 33-year-old, and he passed away. Broncos scored 33 points to come back and win. I was like, that is crazy.
They had to win that game for that exact reason. Like they couldn't, and they waited into the fourth quarter to play better and actually honor DT. But man, a crazy, memorable game for sure.
That definitely for sure. And plus, how I look at for the Giants is like they're a young team that's trying to find a ways to win.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Daboll ain't it anyway. So Joe Shane, unfortunately, is going to keep his job for another time, and he's going to choose another better head coach over Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll wanted to kill somebody after the pass interference and how Bo Nix experience went off anyways. I've never seen a head coach that mad trying to find a defensive coordinator to rip his heads off. That's usually the other way around anyways.
Right.
So, all right, number 9. With the NFL trade deadline coming up on November 4th, what team needs to blow it up the most, and who do you want to see your team acquire? I think the obvious one is the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say if the obvious team for blowing it up isn't the Dolphins, I mean we can end the conversation there because it is a tough watch to see Mike McDaniel on the sidelines with the poor weather in Cleveland and the hoodie over his head and every ounce of his charisma, excitement, spunk, whatever, his zealous nature, everything that you would use to describe him in 2023 when he was racing reporters, sideline reporters off the field at halftime interviews. 100% of that is gone. And he looks like a miserable, sad man. And I'm reminded of the Toy Story line when Woody Buzz says to Woody, "You are sad, strange little man." That's what I feel like with Mike McDaniel. He's just a sad little man.
Definitely. I think it's the Dolphins is the obvious one. I think the other obvious one is when you look at all the divisions, who needs to blow it up the most. I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens want to do a quick retool, honestly, even though Lamar Jackson's coming back, but
right. Something we never said about the Ravens organization. They've always been a model of consistency. I would also add the Jets to that list. They've got their new head coach in Aaron Glenn, but I just don't think you can win in this league with Justin Fields. I mean, that's his third. It'll be his third stop now, and other than maybe Garrett Wilson as a tool, I'm not sure what else they have.
Hall.
Yeah, Breece Hall. He's been rumored to be on the trade block as well. So the Jets are an obvious answer as well. But as far as teams I'd like to see make a move, obviously the Lions conversation is going to be the easy one for me. Yeah. And hey, I mean, Trey Hendrickson has always been a conversation even before the season started. And obviously that would be a all or nothing type move. And I don't see Brad Holmes and this Lions front office making such a loud splash. But if there's somebody they can pick up to help with the pass rushing situation, and now with all the guys they have banged up in the secondary, and you get Brian Branch suspended, you can't trust him. There's a lot of question marks in that secondary as well. So seeing if Brad Holmes, Chris Spielman, the rest of that Lions front office will make a move to bolster that defense, because the offense there's zero concern about.
I think the perfect fit for you guys will be Jordan Brooks, that linebacker. Yeah. He will be perfect. Me being selfish for the Eagles, Jalen Phillips at least.
Yeah,
he's a good one. And plus, I would not go after Bradley Chubb because he's got more money coming off the next 2 years. I think Jalen Phillips, I would take that, even though he's coming off 2 brutal injuries.
I was just going to say, I feel bad for Jalen Phillips, the amount of brutal injuries he's endured, but he doesn't let it deter him from being a great player.
Yeah, I actually like that. That's one guy I like listening to if there's ever a media availability. He's really great person, great personality.
Very Miami guy, right?
University of Miami. Also, he originally played at UCLA first, and he retired to be a firefighter. Then he went to go back to play college football at University of Miami. So I give him props for that.
What a story!
I love his determination. So for me, Jalen Phillips, and plus Miami Eagles haven't had a UM guy since Jerome McDougal. So I'd like to have one UM guy on the team. Yeah. So, all right, number 8. What's worse, getting shut out 31-0 by the Kansas City Chiefs, or the Dolphins getting shellacked by the Cleveland Browns when they've only scored 17 points only on their offense and they lose 31-6? What's worse, would you say?
The Raiders not even showing up, I mean, is embarrassing. It's deplorable. 2 first downs in the entire game, just absolutely insane. But here's what I'll say. It's the old first-year head coach. There's built-in excuses is too harsh, but built-in rationale or explanations given for where this Raiders team is right now. Just 2 wins on the season, whereas this Dolphins team was a playoff team in 2023, and you have sunk your investments into Tua Tagovailoa. And in a lot of ways, we just talked about blowing it up for the Dolphins, but in a lot of ways, the bottom fell out so fast with this Miami Dolphins organization that everybody from the general manager, was it Chris Greer?
Yes.
And everyone on down should be held responsible in some capacity.
I will say 31-0 is bad, but I will say this: the Dolphins haven't that was a winnable game, and getting shellacked by the Cleveland Browns and having Dylan Gabriel look like a first-round quarterback that we've all talked about. That's really bad too. And also Tua looking absolutely horrible in the rain and throwing a pick 6 right out the gate anyway. So dude, and also getting benched halfway through for Quinn Ewers. So I'll take the Miami Dolphins experience. Yeah,
he's so fragile in cold weather, and it's just like you just can't. And I was a big Tua believer, so that's why.
Really?
Yeah, I was wrong on that. 2023, that offense was the number 1 scoring offense, and just dicing guys up. And I thought for sure he was. And there were so many weapons on that offense. I mean, you had Tyreek Hill, obviously, and Waddle. You had Devon Achane was just a rookie, but you also had Raheem Mostert, who basically led. I don't think he ended up leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns that year, but he had a ton. And Tua was so good at just spreading the ball around everybody, and that offense was clicking on all cylinders. And I thought that's the formula to win in today's football. And it just, like I said, the bottom's falling out.
The bottom fell out so badly. Plus, their defense actually had a pass rush, and also there was a pulse to it with Vic Fangio, who they ran out of town anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
All right, number 7. What were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on the Cowboys Redskins game on Sunday? And does this give a week off the hot seat for Matt Eberflus with that defense performance?
I think so. And trying to, the overreaction that we all love to do on a Monday after a big win is certainly at play here. But a lot of the conversation really in Dallas has been on how good Dak's playing. And he's playing very much at an MVP level. And guys like with CD back in the lineup, it really is a high potent, high powered offense that is as good as any. So even if, the defense can just be average, it feels like they can win some games. And, yesterday in a small sample size of just one game, yes, the defense was a lot better. You did have Jaden Daniels go down with the hamstring injury. So for a portion of that game, you're going against Marcus Mariota instead of Jaden Daniels. But at the same time, there was enough semblance of a scheme, a plan, and an element of communication that we hadn't seen for this defense yet this season for the Cowboys. And again, I keep going back to how good the offense has been, but if the defense could just be average, this could be a really dangerous Cowboys team.
I think when I looked at it the most, even though the Washington had their number 1 and number 2 wideouts down, their defense looked good. They were able to do anything they want. I think it's more about Washington is a house of cards, would you say?
Yes.
Especially their offensive line.
Yep.
And their defense had no pass rush. And I'll say this about Shoddy and stuff. He brought up a good game plan. I'll say that for sure. That was a hell of a game plan, just like go, go, go. And with CD and George Pickens, it's a lethal duo for who you're gonna cover. It's like almost like Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin, or you have to go like back in the day, like T.O. and Terry Glenn almost. You have to figure out who you want to cover anyway. So
no, for sure.
And the defense, I'm glad that Eberflus learned how to adapt to his personnel at least, because I saw that it was like, I thought it was gonna be like his Chicago tenure. How he only played zone. He was very stern and like, I'm not going to move off zone. And he went to man and it helped him out a lot. They had a pick 6. Deron Bland had a killer pick 6 on Mariota. Yeah. And he put the game away. And I feel like that defense showed that, like, hey, we don't have to play zone every time. We can play man. That's fine anyways. And plus, they were able to go after their you had to pretty much have to stop Zach Ertz. That's all you had to do anyways. So I give Matt Eberflus credit to it, learning to adapt with his personnel, which is huge, I like to say, in the NFL. So, all right, number 6. What were your thoughts on Brandon Graham? His rumor is he's going to come out of retirement and play football this season.
When I first saw this on the rundown, I had to do a little research and Googling and like, oh my goodness, is this really a thing? And so by definition of the question, I was really surprised. I just think the NFL is such a brutal sport physically. To try to get back into game mode is a huge challenge. But I guess if anybody can do it, we'll see. But no, I think with Brandon Graham wanting to come out of retirement, it just like, for me, it opens up this curiosity of, if he can do it, who else can do it type of thing.
I was going back, like, who took 1 year off of football and who came back. The one that responded to me the most was Jason Witten in 2018. He retired to go to the booth and play Monday Night Football, went back to the Cowboys in 19, was really good, I'll say. I personally hate it, by the way, because he went out as a champion. I was at his last game he played before he tore his triceps and stuff, and he played in the Super Bowl. I feel like it's an awful thing to do, because I feel like I don't want his legacy to be like he got hurt again, and they lost in the divisional round or wild card weekend, which I don't want to see. I personally think you went out on top. Just do an ambassador role for the Eagles. Do work for WIP or work for one of the sports radio stations or have a podcast. Just do that, please. I just don't want you to ruin what I remember you for, winning another Super Bowl anyways. So that's how I see it. Like, it's like if Barry Sanders took a year off and he came back, wouldn't that feel like kind of weird,
Right. And if he wasn't his same, dominant self and the type of player, like you said, you want to remember, that's a big deal.
Yeah. I just think it's also, to me, it's like, just enjoy retirement, please.
Right.
That's all I want, honestly. Like you played enough. You killed yourself playing a defensive end. We criticized you. I criticized you, and almost every other Eagle fan criticized you for the pick anyways in 2010, because we all wanted Earl Thomas. You've done enough. You won 2 Super Bowls. Not many people could say that anyways. So
yeah, call it a career.
Please call it a career. That's all I ask. All right, number 5. This is one of the marquee games this weekend. Bears versus Ravens, two legendary defensive-led teams when you look at it. You're in a foxhole, as I like to quote the great Jerry Jones here. Who you riding with, the 1985 Bears or the 2000 Ravens as an all-time defense?
Wow, that's a great question. Because I was alive for the 2000 Ravens defense, I have the bias of actually watching that team. I'd also say that by definition of the foxhole, I'm very much scared of some of those guys that played on that Ravens defense. So I'd want to be in their foxhole as opposed to the alternative. But no, I think that Ravens defense, to me, as again, I was such a young kid watching that team, but the utter dominance and intimidation they would just impose on the opposition every time they took the field. And I know the 85 Bears, and anybody that's an 85 Bears fan that's listening to this is ready to throw their tablet or cell phone or computer, whatever they're listening or watching
on their radio.
yes, and come after me. But I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, because it's a really tough choice, but I'll go with the Ravens.
Give me the 85 Bears. Even though I just want to figure. I just think that 85 Bear from top to bottom was cool, anyways, and like you had stars on both sides of the field, and plus you had William Refrigerator Perry able to play on both sides of the ball as fullback almost. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool. Like if we had Ray Lewis playing try to play fullback, that would have been crazy, anyways. Or Shannon Sharp playing corner at least.
That was one of my earliest memories of watching like those old NFL highlight films on the VHS. So some of the young cats listening to this, the VHS you had to put into the TV, and it had a little tape around it, and you would watch old NFL films highlights. And for whatever reason, that one just resonates with me as a kid, of him jumping into the end zone and then the massive spike.
Would you say Brian Billick's the most underrated head coach for that team? Would you say of all time?
Yeah, that's tough. Just off the cusp. There's a lot of underrated head coaches, but I think he's certainly in that conversation, because you don't really hear his name brought up with a lot of these other great Super Bowl winning coaches. So
no.
Yeah, Dick Vermeil is another one that comes to mind. I don't know if he gets the love that he deserves. He's a big wine guy. I bought his wine a couple of times in Napa. So there you go.
Yes. He has a winery too, also. That's a fun fact for you. Yeah. I always say this, Brian Billick. I feel like he's underappreciated. I know he was on that 98 Vikings as the OC and stuff. Then he took the Ravens job. I think I just wish that more people gave him a second chance as a head coach, because I feel like he would have done a stellar job anywhere anyways. So
yeah.
Even though he was great with Tom Brenneman in the booth for the number 2 Fox booth anyways, that was, you learned something in that booth anyways as a head coach anyways. All right, number 4, Packers Steelers is Sunday Night Football.
Oh god,
you could say this is a toolback question. Who's more annoying fan base out of these two anyways?
Before actually, let me back up a little bit. The Packers dominated the Lions for so long, like there's no other way to put it, and I never found them that, like, because they were dominating so much, they didn't really have anything to be obnoxious about. I mean, it was a divisional rival, sure. But as soon as the Lions got good, Packers fans all of a sudden became insufferable. Mm-hmm. And they have been at the top of my list the last several years. And I know there's anytime you start talking about fan bases in generalities, there's going to be plenty of Lions annoying fans and everything that, they don't know how to handle success and everything like that. But the Lions were the laughing stock of the league for a really long time. And now that the Lions are the exact opposite of that, maybe some fans are having their moment and taking their victory laps. The Lions still haven't won anything yet, so there's nothing to take a true victory lap for. But with the domination the Lions have had over the Packers, with the exception of this opening week, or this opening season game in Lambeau, obviously, but before that, they'd won 5 of the last 6. And there's obviously a healthy disdain for Packers fans for me. But it was between Packers and Steelers, right? Because Steelers are right up there too. I mean, the Steelers, I know they travel well. It's one of the biggest blue blood NFL franchises, the history and everything like that. It's really cool stadium and everything. But yes, they're on this list for a reason, but I think the Packers fans have a slight edge for me.
I go Steeler fan no matter what, because I went to college out in Steeler country, which is Ohio, and I lived in Columbus, which is a Steeler town anyways. I say this to every Steeler fan. It's like, do you know how to go to a game, or do you just know how to go to the games in Cleveland or Cincinnati? It's like, oh, it's a little cheaper and stuff. And the funnier thing is for me is most Steeler fans are they're very unintelligent sometimes. They like to cause a lot of the fights anyways. If you ever go to a game,
yeah,
especially if you've been to if you ever go to Eagles Steelers in Pittsburgh or Philly, mostly in Pittsburgh, that's a rowdy crowd, and it's like fists will fly. I remember going there in 2012 and seeing a fight go down and see someone get lifted up and almost got thrown off the upper deck. How about that?
Oh, jeez, can't have it. Yeah,
no. So I will always go a Steeler fan, anyways, and then seeing them cry when they lost to the Denver Broncos to Demaryius Thomas. I'm making this full circle, by the way, from Tim Tebow to Demaryius Thomas to the Steeler fan. Seeing the Steeler fan just cry and just collapse to their knees after losing to the Broncos is probably my favorite thing of all time as a memory in college anyways.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Tim Tebow.
Yeah, I circled it back to Tim Tebow and the Denver Broncos. At least I'll say that for sure. So, all right. Monday Night Football. We got a nice little doubleheader, by the way.
Let's go.
All right, I got 3 questions for you, by the way, since I want to give more love to the Bucks and Lions anyways. What's your original thoughts for Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield when they got drafted in the first couple of years of the NFL, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, racking my brain going back to that when I saw this on the run sheet, I really didn't have a quote-unquote hot take on either one of them. I remember expecting Jared Goff was going to be really good, and with the resources and the head coach of Sean McVay out in LA, and he was really good. That's what I think people forget about is one of the most dominant offensive regular season games of all time. Jared Goff outdueled Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
And when he gets traded to Detroit because he played poorly in a Super Bowl, and the entire, I feel like obviously Sean McVay, but just the entire talking heads in NFL and everyone else just was like, yeah, Jared Goff can't play quarterback, and he's thrown to Detroit because that's where quarterbacks go to die and everything like that. And I just remember thinking like, wait a second, this is an MVP caliber player. And obviously I'm biased with how good Jared Goff's been in Detroit and what he's done for our franchise. But Baker, on the other hand, I was a fan of Baker. I think he grew up a little bit. He still brings that competitive spirit, that aura, as the kids would call it.
Yeah.
And got him in trouble a few times in college. But I just remember thinking the Browns turned their back on him too quickly.
All right, Jared Goff. I thought when I looked at it, so a little fun fact, I wanted him to go to the Eagles most likely. I was hoping the Wentz would go to the Rams and the Eagles would take him. I was like, okay, this guy. I always took the first year as like you had Jeff Fisher, you get a real OC head coach this year. The second year, I thought his second year was his true rookie year, and his third year was awesome. I thought those two were great. And when he got traded, I was bummed for him. I was like, are we really giving up on this kid really too fast? Anyways, I thought he was. When you look at if you played at Cal, no one really cared about Cal football anyways. So I thought Jared Goff has a high ceiling. They've had a low ceiling for him, and he expanded the expectations now when he's in Detroit now. Mm-hmm. Baker, I loved him in college because he was just a total tool bag to like the opponents and stuff, especially to Ohio State. I loved him with the flag stomp at the horseshoe and stuff. I love that. I thought it was karma that he had to get drafted to the Browns, and I felt like this dude's there's no chance for him to succeed there, which I was kind of right anyways. Then even though he won a playoff game, I was like, okay, I'm just waiting for the shoe to fall. Then he went to Tampa, Carolina, and then LA and Tampa. I feel like the kid's got some moxie, which we haven't seen. He likes to, he is that, I hate everything about the world. I'm going to prove everybody right. He wants to kick the world's ass almost.
Right.
That's how I view it. So, all right. Number 2. What's your Tuesday morning sports headline grab for the Bucks and Lions game?
Ooh. Motor City Magic.
Oh, the Lion.
Well, I said on my Locked On Lions show, I think it's going to be a high scoring shootout. With the Lions secondary as depleted as it is. If they want, just like Dan Campbell said before Kansas City, they're going to have to score 30 points to win this game. I think they're going to have to score 35 to beat the Bucks. So I said 38-35 final Lions.
Jared Goff and Dan Campbell make Baker Mayfield walk the plank.
I love it. I love it. You're on the Lions as well?
Yeah, I'm on the Lions as well. I think this is probably your NFC title game. What'd you say? I'm gonna say this. I'll say this. The Eagles are gonna probably play the Bucs. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I think this is probably when you look at the early season NFC title game, this is the NFC title game people want to see. All right. Number 1, who's the first player you think of when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks and Houston Texans?
Oh, first player I think of. I still put the Houston Texans, still think of poor David Carr with no offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I was really getting into football as a kid. And he just was, I think he could have been a good quarterback, but he just never had any help. Seattle Seahawks. Ooh, that's a good one. You're talking, did I answer this correctly? You're talking historically, right?
Anybody. So
okay. Seattle Seahawks. I still think of Russell Wilson.
Okay.
And his glory years in Seattle. I was talking with some Seahawks friends when I was out in Utah who lived in Seattle when Russ was going through, when they were just, I mean, for that team to only win one Super Bowl is such a disappointment. And not often can you say that, and obviously they were in position for a second one, but man, they had a squad.
They could have 3 anyways. When you look at, they should have beat the Atlanta Falcons in 2012. And that it all just came down to the Hail Mary pass. They won the Super Bowl in 2013. 14, they should have beat the Patriots. You could at least have 3 Super Bowls there when you think about it. They probably would have smoked the 49ers in that NFC title game. We probably would have Seahawks, Ravens. That would have been a killer Super Bowl anyways. So, all right, for me, I'm stuck between 2 for the Seahawks. Actually, Sean Alexander.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. 37, number 37.
Yes, and also Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, yeah, good call. Fantasy football was starting to become a thing.
Yep.
And he was so good scoring all those touchdowns.
Yeah. Andre Johnson and stuff.